We're going to call our June 2022 committee meetings to order. Chairman of the Board of the Finance Committee, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the Finance Committee, I'd like to call it to order. Do we have any visitors that would like to address the committee?
Edna Green, 4981 Cameron Road. What I would like to address today is to deal with the Finance Committee and your billing. I don't know how many of you look at your billing, but Mr. Chris Capps' billing in there is the one I directly like to comment on. When I sat through budget committee meeting week before last week, Mayor Britton came across that Hamblen County matched self-employment, which is Medicare and Social Security for Mr. Capps. Now, you usually only do that for an employee. I have never seen it done for a contract 1099 employee. Now, the explanation when I asked about it was on the Private Act money, which is $100 a month. That was the one that was paid that way. My question to you folks is, why did you do that? I don't care if it is very little money. It's still our money. And we shouldn't have to pay it as citizens of Hamblen County. I'd say if it was a lollipop. It doesn't matter how much it is. It's not county commissions or the mayors to spend. It belongs to the citizens of Hamblen County. Now, from what I understand, it was based on the $100 a month that is covered under Private Act. That's the same Private Act that I filed suit for in 2018 because Mr. Capps was billing. That act covers finance meeting and commission meeting. He was still billing for those as well. And in case you don't like my term, he got paid twice for one job. Now, I'm going to be real rude tonight, folks. I don't pay twice for my groceries when I go through the grocery store. You folks may be able to afford to do that. I don't. I can't. I don't pay twice for the one same tank of gas. If you folks do, you're in better financial standing than I am. So you need to be doing something about it. Now, it's went on for quite a while by what I understand. And my question is, if you knew it, why didn't you correct it? It is not legal for me to pay self-employment on a contract employee. And you don't have to take my word for it. However, who produces your tax returns for Hamblen County in your filings? You don't have to take my word for it. You should be able to, but you don't have to. Now, that being said, I want to emphasize, it's not the amount of money. But you take several years at $10 a pop or $100 a pop, it adds up. And again, it's Hamblen County citizens' money. We need roads, and we need several other things. And per the conversation that I heard the mayor make the other night, we don't need another property tax increase. You need to be better stewards of the Hamblen County's money. Some of you will soon be leaving, so let me get one more word in. The mess that you started when you voted to sue the citizens for freedom of speech, you need to clean up before you leave here. The next thing. I went through the packet this morning, and I have it printed over here on my chair if any of you want to look at it. You've got a copy in your notebooks as well. I noticed where that Burwell was asking for an additional $15,000 per month. That's money out of Hamblen County citizens' pockets. You need to do better. The architect was asking for more money because somebody had the brainchild of changing some kind of a driveway. Now, ever who came up with that brave idea must make more money than the rest of us peons. So let them pay it out of their wallet. Don't take it out of the citizens' wallet. You need to do your jobs. Some of you have done outstanding. And for the ones of you that have, thank you. For the ones of you that need work, please step up and do what's right. To coin one of Quinn's words, the Lord is watching you. And if I take something that does not belong to me, it is the same thing as stealing. We need money. Otherwise, we have officers that barely make a living. They don't make near what our mayor does or what our county attorney does. Folks, you need to step up. Now, for any of you that did not understand what I said when I talked about Mr. Capps double dipping,
That's,
I
we're out
know,
of town.
but I'm just going to reiterate to you. I will gladly provide you a second copy of
It's-
what I
Point of order,
provided.
Chairman, point of order, please. Time is up.
Is my phone- oh,
Yes.
I apologize. I am so sorry I offended you, sir. Have a good day.
Is there a deadline on that lawsuit, Edna? I don't think there is.
Are there any other, anyone else want to address the committee?
Linda Noe, Joe Stevens Road. Of course, on your agenda, you have 4B, 2, change orders 3 and 4 on the jail. They just keep ticking upward and upward. What I would like to address, though, is number 3, which is the change order or contract amendment for Burwell. I went back to the August 2020 minutes where you purportedly approved the contract for Burwell. And I say that because those are the minutes that Mayor Britton changed to reflect a motion saying that you were voting on a contract for $975,000, when in fact the motion did not say that. Of course, Mr. Britton also claimed that, well, that was not altering public records, that draft minutes are not public records. There are opinions from CTAS and the Tennessee Coalition of Open Government and multiple others that draft minutes are in fact public records. So when you change those minutes, as Mayor Britton did, you're altering a public record. Might not be as much of a problem if you were actually correcting it, but it was not correcting the minutes. It was altering them to say what he wanted them to say, even though the motion made by Mr. Horner was not to accept a contract for $975,000.
Items on the agenda.
Request, we're not rehashing ancient history.
This is a
We know the
change.
facts. You need to stay on top.
Gotcha, Bobby. If you'll look at what's in your packet, it mentions that contract of $975,000. And so we're starting from that, and now we're increasing it. They're asking for an additional, or saying they would technically be due $15,000 a month times 9 months due to that extended period before the final contract was let. But they're going to be generous, and they're going to agree to just accept $95,000. I strongly object to this. This was, if you'll remember, and I know Mr. Neesmith mentioned it numerous times, this was where Mosley said, you just need a retired contractor and, you know, maybe $80,000 or $90,000 a year. And the next thing you know, Mr. Britton has a full-fledged construction manager, calling it a project manager. And suddenly we're at $975,000. Now you are looking at $95,000 more. Where does this stop? When do you start looking at stuff? When do you look at contracts? And when are you going to ask your attorney about this type of thing? They're asking. They're not demanding. They're asking, and you can say no. The final thing I'd like to mention is the request to exceed the threshold for bidding. This is 4D, the resolution 22, whatever it ends up being once you look at it. Authorizing you to increase the threshold. In other words, you can not bid, but you can get quotes on costs or vendors or materials up to $25,000 without getting competitive bids. If you look back through your work before, you'll see that competitive bids are important to get the lowest bid. If you start just calling people up, there's not a sealed bid. You just call people up, you get quotes, you write them down. You have a lot of questions about whether some of the bidders know what others bid or what proposal others have put forth. Competitive bidding is, in my opinion, very sacred, and you should keep it at the 10,000 you have now, or only increase it a little bit. Let's assume, well, maybe most bids are coming in higher. Maybe increase it to 15,000, but $25,000 without a sealed bid so that nobody knows what's going on until it's open,
The time is up.
wrong.
Thank you, Ms. Noe. Do we have anyone else who would like to address the committee? Seeing none, in your packets, you have a chance to review the report of the expenditures. Do we have a motion to accept the monthly checks as listed? We've got a motion. Do we have a second? Got a
Second.
Do we have anyone that has any further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. In old business, we have none. In new business, item 4A, request for purchase property for the landfill. Mayor Britton?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. In your packet is a letter from Tom Rush, Chairman of the Solid Waste System Board, requesting that the city and county purchase a total of 83 acres to expand the landfill. Under the resolutions that passed City Council and County Commission, and under which the solid waste system operates, any purchase of any property to expand the landfill is to be purchased by the city and county governments. And so what is before you is a purchase. The solid waste system basically is in a situation where they have about a year left, maybe 15 months left on the life of the current landfill, and they've got an opportunity to buy the 83 acres next to them, which is owned by GFL. And you'll see, you have the map that's right there is a 16-acre plot right here. That's adjacent to the section that's for the expansion. That's where the expansion's going to be. Here's a 16-acre piece that GFL owns that the solid waste, well, the city and county would buy for the solid waste system. And then their current Class 3 landfill, which is right here. But it would be all this acreage right here. And the Class 3 landfill's right there. And the Class 3 landfill is your C&D landfill, your construction and demolition, your non-household waste. Garbage can be put in there, and right now about 45% of the landfill's waste is C&D, and it's now going into a Class 1 landfill, which is for household waste. And so this purchase is an opportunity for the landfill to extend its life over 30 years, closer probably to 40 years. And so this is really a critical time in the landfill's operation and life because of this need to purchase this property. And not many landfills in operation in Tennessee can say that they have an opportunity to extend the life of their landfill by 30 to 40 years. So that's what this property purchase is all about. GFL has quoted the price of the land for $700,000. It's for 83 acres plus. In that 83 acres is the licensed Class 3. So it's already licensed. They do not operate it. They keep the permit active. And so the permit would be transferred to the solid waste system, and we would start using it for our C&D waste. But that's the request before you. With me tonight is Dennis Barnes, who's the director of the landfill, and then you have your commissioner, Tim Horner's the representative on the solid waste board, and Keith Jackson is here. He's been on the board for a long time, knows the history of the landfill, and so I have the expertise here to answer any questions. And also, you might know that when we presented the sanitation budget, we had the money in that budget to pay our portion of the purchase of this property. So we can pay cash for our portion.
Chairman, I make the motion we approve that.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thomas Doty. Is there any further discussion?
You know, I want to know, on the very top section where it says Class 1 expansion site, the very top section up there, is that going to be on this side of that ridge?
It's right here.
Yeah, right up
This
top.
area right here.
Fernwood Church is on the left over here. It goes out. There's a tall ridge right there. Will it be on this side of this ridge and where it stops? The
Should stop at the ridge.
okay, it'll stop.
Where that should stop. It should
Okay.
stop there at that ridge. You shouldn't go that far.
Okay.
16 acres is that way, but it's to the right. It's not even at the top of the ridge.
Okay.
Mayor, do we have any other counties in there?
No. No.
Extending this out that long, you said 40 years? That's a big deal. How much does that save us long-term?
Oh, gosh. I don't know that it can be calculated.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's significant
The
savings, isn't
significance
it?
is that getting that Class 3.
Yeah.
Where we can put that waste, which costs less costs less to develop a Class 3. It costs less to dispose of waste in a Class 3. And just that purchase alone will double the life of what we have.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If
Just
not,
add- Also, there's a burner on the property that this will allow us not to have to move that. We were gonna have to move it, which would save $200,000, so. Incinerator, yeah.
and is the incinerator still used?
It needs some repair, but yeah,
Can be.
we're still burning on it.
And right now, we're burning on the outside, through February, but not through the, yes.
It needs some major repairs,
Is that something that's under consideration? Okay,
depending on how the expansion goes, how all
Sure.
this goes.
okay. All right, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4B, Justice Center, Tony Pettit, Project Manager for Burwell Construction.
Good afternoon. We're making some headway on the side, in case you can't tell from here, the bunch of dirt's about gone. Last month, I told you about some stored materials. We continue to get billings for stored materials. The photos here, I've got some precast. It's exterior precast that's stored. Just click it. Bill Gates make these? No, click on the side, okay. There's some more precast. Some steel, trying to combat material prices and stuff we're seeing a lot of the stored materials there. When we approve these, we request that their bill of sales and there's certificates of insurance for stored materials, that in case something happens catastrophic, we're insured for these materials. But that's typical of off-site stored materials. Here's your jail cells. Right now, these are about a month old. Right now, they're completely built. 219 of jail cells are completely built in Baldwin, Georgia. Some pictures of those. Here's some inside look. Light fixtures installed. When we were down there the previous month, there was some parts and pieces out, not installed in them. You'll see the stack lights and the water fountains and sanitary lavatories, water closets. This is polyurea. That's the coating of it. It was stored. There was some steel. There's the wall panels. And there's the glazing for that, security glazing for the cells. And a DT can. Here's a side picture. It's a couple of weeks old. I'll tell you that the site is micropiles are 63% complete. I just got a report back on those while I was sitting back here on the grout overruns and the links are still in play, but it seems to be improving every time we run a report. As the end of May, the job billing was at 20% complete. But of that 20% complete, there's 12% value of the contract in stored materials. So that's how come I wanted to show you the stored materials. Any question on the progress? They've had a concrete contractor mobilize beginning of, we actually mobilized a couple of weeks ago with the re-steel and reinforcing steel goes into concrete. And this week they started excavating and planting concrete pours. So they're in the foundations, they're chasing the micropiles. Micropiles are picking up a little speed. So that's helping a lot. So that's the report. Change order number 3. Are we ready to go on?
Yes.
Pardon me, sorry about this. There's a lot of backup in 3. Change order 3 has a response to an RFI number 48, and basically that's what we're calling a dropout is what we East Tennessee guys know as a sinkhole. So there was 2 active sinkholes on site. We think we got the second one, the larger one, resolved at no cost. This one here was resolved for $1,802. one part. And then, there was a spec revision that kind of scared us a little bit, from the owner's side, where they changed the type of piping, sanitary and waste and vent piping in the food service. The spec was just wrong. However, after we dug into it, the subcontractor actually had the right pipe covered, so there was a no change there. We talked about RFI 65, and it's an overhead door that we're changing from a motor-operated door to a manual operated door. That's a credit of $958. And then we hit some more unsuitables, 436 yards of unsuitables there for $17,255.68. And that's in the unit prices it's quoted on bid day, and it's in their contract. So that's change order number 3. Any questions on change order number 3?
Did you say that was bid, and then they're changing the bid?
There's a unit price for unsuitable soils.
Yes.
Over and excess. In the bid, there was a quantity of 1,500 yards. We ran over that. We've had one change order that squared that up before. We've ran, I don't have the log with me, but we ran over it once. This is another 416 yards in addition to the 1,500 and the change order for the other. So it's an addition to their number. They're responsible for all the rock, but unsuitables below grade, we have to pay for that. So that's how, what was in the bid was the unit price of that unsuitable soils. Any other questions?
One question. Mayor, we had a core drilling summary done on this to check for sinkholes and such as that. Can we go back on that company who certified that this land is good to cover this $1,800 that we're having to pay for what they said wasn't there?
If you read that report, it'll tell you that the geology of East Tennessee is very unpredictable, and they pretty well got their self covered on that. Save that question for micropiles later too, so. It's just an unknown. The second dropout, I think it's going to get resolved with no cost, so. Any other questions on change order 3?
So we'll be able to possibly pick up some as we go on the other micropiles that are left?
Well, we were hoping we could, because in theory, we were drilling, we bid the job at 45 feet length, and we are not seeing those, because what's happening is that they'll drill, you're supposed to be embedded 10 feet in rock. And in this geology, and I'm not the expert here, there's pinnacle rock. So when they lay these out, this rock underneath is doing this. And also they may be rocks just in there, and they go 6 feet and then bust through back to dirt. So as we get toward the end of the project, like I said, they were 58% complete on this report I just saw. We'll be able to settle that up. So it's getting better every report. It was pretty scary to begin with, but it is improving, but it's still an issue to worry about.
Thank you.
Okay. Change order number 4 was a response to RFI 14 to run a new feed for the 4 existing light poles in the 911 center. And there's a multicolored drawing in that packet trying to explain what that is, but basically they found a feed to existing site lighting that was not known. And so the contractor hit that and said, okay, what are we going to do with this? And we worked through it, and actually the contractor came up with the idea, a less expensive idea, to route that out of the existing EMS. So that allowed us to save some money off of a potentially bigger change order. This change order was $6,357. Change order 4. Questions?
You said you were gonna reroute through the 911 building? How was that? You're
911 center, yeah.
you're gonna reroute through that?
Well, no, it was originally fed from out of the existing jail. The construction of the new stuff, basically, we're going to cut it in true.
Okay.
Power feeds. So they were going to try to get it through the new jail, temporary around it, but the simplest, most cost-effective way to do it was route it through the EMS. They had room in their breakers and route it through there to get it to those sight lights.
Okay.
So it's just a new way of lighting those light poles in the back.
Gotcha.
Okay. Any other questions on that one? Okay. Then I have a change order request.
Mr. Chairman, we probably should vote on 3 and 4
Thank you.
before we consider anything else.
Would it be okay to vote both of them together, or do you one at a time?
I
They're
think we need
both
to separate.
together on the agenda.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we're going to vote. Do we have a motion to approve number 3 and 4 collectively? We've got a motion. Do we have a second? We've got a second. Do we have any further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition?
Nay.
Okay. Motion carries. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item
Okay.
4.3.
Huh?
Item 4.3.
Yep, that's the change order for us. Originally, the RFP came out that when we proposed on it, there's a letter in there, hopefully dated June 8th, kind of explaining contracts and some articles it references 1.37 and Article 1.6 of the contract. And in the second paragraph of that letter says that pre-construction services commenced September 2020 and concluded December 2021. That duration was 16 months and not the 4 or 5 months that was indicated in the RFP. So there was quite a bit of time there. We identified Exhibit C at $75,000 for 4 or 5 months. I went ahead and calculated on 5 months and got the $15,000 a month. With the protracted construction services that were rendered, that should have totaled $135,000. And then what we decided was we'd come back with $95,000 as additional pre-construction services. The heart of that change order request is personnel change for a guy that we had identified in the contract as Michael Scott. He left our company. And now we have Jaron DeWalter that's working on this some too.
Mr. Pettit, it appears that this would be, please explain to us why, I mean, I see it here, I see it. What did y'all do during that time when we were rebidding and, you know, how much was actually going on during this time that, because we feel like we're having to pay something for no service?
Well, there was, I'm sorry about that, but there are services rendered. And originally we were to bid and estimate the job, which we did. Went out for bid. We got involved with value engineering. Everybody here on this board commission knows that wasn't very successful just because of the times, but we were involved with meetings about redesigning the foundations and with the architect and just basically spent a lot of time trying to get this thing back in budget or somewhere closer, and unfortunately, that didn't work, so. But there was time spent on the project that was, the job went for, instead of 4 or 5 months of pre-construction, it went to 16 months, which we rebid the job.
That's a fine print kind of thing that kind of hits below the belt.
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way. It's one of the things that we, you know, time is money, and that's, we're just asking to be compensated for that time.
I understand. I mean, it's in the contract, it just,
Well, that's the reason because we weren't successful in it, and we ended up with a bigger budget and a bigger project, that we've discounted it to 95 to cover actual cost.
You're saying that was the rebid?
Well, it's rebid, it's the value engineering
Right, yeah.
exercises, you know, it bid in April. It was supposed to bid sometime in February or March, but in April, we stepped back and said, okay, we need to redesign the foundations to try to get them in line and help save some money on the budget. And it saved money, we just didn't realize it because the whole world is going mad, so we just couldn't benefit of the value engineering we took. Value engineering, you know, was anticipated. Brian came down and explained what we were anticipating, $6 to $8 million. I thought it was more, but in the meantime, steel kept going up, concrete went up. I mean, everything turned around. It was just a bad time. And this is just for our services during that protracted time of services.
Chairman, may I readdress?
Yes.
Again, it just seems, you know, quite a bit during this time, we're all spinning our wheels, we're all trying to get the best of value and understand where you're at, but also it kind of gives a bad impression that, you know, digging deeper. And that's how it came to me, or that's how I feel about it. We're not getting a lot for that time. And I understand your point here. I just feel like, is there any negotiation here? What recourse do we have?
I've been in hard negotiations over so far.
We've been negotiating on this, and during this time, Burwell did a lot of work for us. And during the value engineering period, the period of rebidding, the period of evaluating the bids, both times, they've done a lot of work for us. And we did negotiate this discount, because of some of the time factors you're talking about.
Lack of success too, of what our efforts show.
It just seems like 16 months, you know, there was a period there, our hands were tied. I mean, because of the bidding process or something, and you've knocked off how many months? 95 to, knocked off 4 or 5 months, I guess it is.
Yeah, basically the rebid time.
In the original contract that we have with Burwell, does such a procedure that he's requesting fit into that original contract? And then if they decide to come back later on, they could come back for another 100,000?
You're shaking your head, yes, Mr. Pettit. Can you tell us how many hours
The
that were?
contract, the way it's written is yes, you could. If something happens and this thing goes 30 months or something, one of the things I like working for Burwell is they're able to do like what we've presented here, and we're We're not hard line. We're not saying give us $135,000 and
Can you tell us how many hours we're talking about for $95,000? Because you guys are not doing any design, any of that. You're mostly negotiating between the two. That's, you know, and filling us in.
I can answer that question for you, because I turn in timesheets on it, so.
I'd like, I'd just like to know what we're getting for $95,000. That's,
It's somewhere between 20 and 16 hours a week. And this is negotiated less than 16 hours a week.
But isn't the purpose of having your position filled to save us
It
money?
is, yes, sir.
And did we save money? Does not seem like it.
No.
So what's the value in continue on with something that's not working?
It's working. I couldn't imagine taking on this project, Randy, without somebody like Burwell, their expertise, and Tony specifically. I think that overall, because of the rebidding and what happened in the market and all that, we got a big time sour taste, about this. But if you look at some individual, I guess savings may not be the right word, but some values that we got and some of the changes that were made from what the designers wanted to do because of suggestions that either Burwell made or Blaine made. And there'll be more to come on that. I think personally, I think we're getting our money.
It'd be nice if we could quantify that, just so that we have a good way to make a good determination.
I agree, Mr. Chairman.
Do you see the steel prices, stuff like that, has leveled off?
The steel prices leveled off from January, actually 1st of December, leveled off all the way up to April, and then they started climbing again. So from the time we started planning this job in 2020,
Well, I guess what I'm getting
steel
at-
pricing has went up 192% till last month.
Yeah.
It's
This
crazy.
money here, can we make that up somewhere down the road, do you think?
Well, there's certainly have been charged with building what's on the documents, and we're looking at everything of how we can benefit something that we give you the same thing that's on the documents. For example, the terrazzo floor is in the project. There's ways we've tried that effort. We've changed the brick on the outside a little bit. We've changed the mechanical units a little bit. I'm still fussing about where the security area is and where we get to use rigid conduit versus EMT, and we're trying to do that. So it's a big animal. My charge is trying to make sure that it's built for the specification and quality that we would, as an owner, expect. So we've changed millwork, species, and trying to save money, and basically, I'm tried to take the route where we could go instead of 135. We're trying to make it more palatable. I know it's not an easy thing to take, so.
No, I just have to agree with Commissioner Cutshaw's comments on that, on the contract and stuff. I have to agree with that too.
May I readdress?
Yes, please.
Tony, again, I understand, I'm glad you're on the job. It's well above any of my scope of knowledge what you're doing. This is, again, it's a bad taste, just because we under contract. It just seems pretty tough to take. And I don't know how you say this, but I'd want them to know, your folks to know that I'm not happy about it. But I feel that you know, we have no recourse, just as the mayor has said, and I'll make that motion that we go ahead and accept this with distaste.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Got a second. Do we have any further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposition?
Aye.
Who is this? Motion carries. Okay, item 4B4 for laundry equipment purchase.
Yeah, we were hoping to bring and just let me report on this. We bid the food service equipment out, and we received 6 bids. However, we're not ready to make a recommendation on that, making sure that everybody's abiding by the bidding requirements, and we've had to pull off that one. The laundry service, something we try to do is separate that out from the food service because it's a little bit different animal. In that, if a lot of times they take the laundry equipment and the food service guys will take it and mark it up. So one of the things we were trying to save was that markup. So that's how come they're separated out. So we had 3 bids. We had laundry systems, the low recommended bidder, Odell is another laundry equipment, and an REM laundry. All 3 of those bid. Low bid, and you got to pay sales tax on it, so this has got the sales tax with it, $70,834 for that equipment. And we should have a letter in there of recommendation and should have a contract for that. The reason we're bidding that right now is that we have a thing called an extractor, which is a real heavy-duty drying machine, and it needs a foundation, and we're working in that area where we need the shop drawings for the foundation, make sure we get it built right. So we're requesting that you approve the low bidder, and we enter into the contract you have before you with me.
And the low bidder was $70,834.
With tax, it's $70,834.60.
Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Was
We
in
approve
budget.
it.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
So do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition?
On the budget committee. Second.
Yeah.
Finance.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Reed.
Mayor, where are we? I know there was some discussion earlier about maybe getting some of that kitchen equipment through the vendor that supplies the food. Is that off the table now?
Yeah, that didn't work out.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Okay, item 4C, body scanner purchase with opioid settlement funds. Mayor Britton?
In your packet is a letter from me asking for permission to purchase a body scanner that would be, we would use it now in the jail now, and then it would be transferable into the new facility. And what this machine does, and our jail administration has been to see this model used in a couple locations in Claiborne and Blount counties. And it basically, someone who comes in is part of the booking process will go through the scanner, and the scanner will reveal whether the person has any contraband on their body or in their body. And so this will help with the safety of not only the staff, but also of the the inmates as well, as trying to prevent drugs getting in the jail and overdoses happening and fights breaking out over who possesses the drugs and so forth. So this money, we received over $1.8 million in the Endo pharmaceutical settlement, and this money would pay for this item. This was one of the ideas that I presented to you, so we're asking for approval to proceed in purchasing. On this item is a sole proprietor or sole source of this model, and so we're permitted to purchase this without bidding it.
Have we known anybody else be able to use that machine?
Yeah, Teresa, you guys went to Claiborne and
We went to Claiborne County and saw it, Blunt County we know have it, and, we went to Greene County and saw another one that we was not very, and Chad also went with us, was not very impressed with. This is very impressive.
Is a 5-year warranty worth $176,500?
A 5-year warranty.
yeah, you get 1 year's worth of warranty with the
How
purchase.
much?
And then, the warranties,
The warranty
$176,500.
oh, that's the total price.
That's the total.
That's
That's
the
with,
total
the-
price.
that's the
But
unit
that's
and
with
the
the
warranty.
Well,
All right, the scanner itself is $139, and you get a 1-year warranty with
It-
that. And
but-
then for 5 years additional warranty is $37,500.
here it says the total cost of the body scanner, 5-year warranty, additional $176,500.
Is that on the quote sheet?
This is on your letter.
Yeah, on your letter.
On my letter?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, the total cost of the scanner and the warranty, yes, is $176, both of them together.
Both of them together, okay.
Why do we choose not to go with the temperature scanner? Why do we choose not to go with it for, on that?
What?
A temperature scanner on it, why do we choose not to go with it?
I think we did, didn't we?
No. So it wasn't not, it says not needed.
We chose, because the nurses, they take everybody's temperature at the back door. The scanner will be moved across in the, one of the gates on the side that cannot be used right now. But the nurses check everybody's temperature, everything at the back door right now. And we just think, no, for the money wise, we really didn't see a reason to get the temperature.
How do these images come out? How do you know what's there?
It just shows like on an X-ray, and you got a little machine there at can you print it off? I think you can, 'cause you can print it off, and, a little mobile machine that's beside it, and, it's really impressive.
So you can tell if they've ingested something.
Well,
If somebody suggests like a key or something, yeah, you can see it, but if they've got it stuck down their pants or inside them, it'll show a void area. To
Okay.
let you know that they've got something, that they go further from there.
I move that we approve the purchase.
I second that.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4D, Resolution 22, a resolution authorizing Hamblen County to increase the threshold required for sealed competitive bids and proposals. Mayor Britton?
This is the result of a law change by the legislature this past session in allowing governments that have some sort, we have centralized accounting under a resolution, and we can opt to increase our bidding threshold to $25,000. There's what, in my opinion, in the opinion of our office, is this opens up competition because with the little guys, we've had trouble getting bids on like renovation of the Hale House and some other projects like that, it's because of how cumbersome that the bidding process is, and that the small companies don't have the expertise, nor the time, nor the staff to go through that process. And it's my opinion that we will benefit from raising the limit from 10 to 25. One is it'll spur more competition for our capital projects. Two, it will save us time. And three, we'll put in place, Ann and I have discussed this, we'll put in place procedures that will ensure that we get the best price that we can. Now, about minimally, we just have to get 3 quotes. But on a bigger, more complex project that would approach $25,000, we'll have specs, and we'll have companies quote to the specs, and it just won't be a formal process as far as sealed bids, with a deadline, that kind of thing.
Chairman, I make a motion, we approve that.
Got a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4E, bid tabulation, non-refurbished personal computers. Mayor Britton?
What we do every year is we bid computers. We don't bid, say, we're going to buy 25. We don't do it that way. We ask for quotes and bids for a certain computer type, size, configuration, and then when a department needs some computers, we go and purchase it off that bid. And so we had 2 bidders, Technology Express in Kingston and SHI International in Somerset, New Jersey. The low bid is Technology Express, and this is just a list of items that our IT manager could purchase off of, like the standard configuration of a desktop versus the power configuration, then what a notebook would be, and then the accessories, the monitors, the docking stations, the keyboards, those kinds of things. So we recommend Technology Express as the low bidder.
Do we have do we have a motion?
Motion.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4F, banking contract. Scotty Long.
I think she's got in your packet there the copy of the letter from Home Trust, where we're accepting their proposal. And again, it's the low, what you call a low bid, where they're coming in at 4.8 on the minimum amount of money invested. They're starting out at 0.7% on their interest rate, and it is based on the prime interest rate. So prime goes above another half point, which we're looking at, probably 1.25. We'll move up with them. So it's just I think we've all agreed to it and formally accepted it.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, Thomas. If all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Item 4G, budget amendments. Number 1, Hamblen County Board of Education, budget amendment number 7, and this is for code changes. Ms. Anderson.
The board requests approval of this amendment, which constitutes money moves within line items. Last month, the commission approved our amendment to bring funds into our budget for our summer learning camps. This month, we would like to request to move funds from the instructional supplies lines to provide school security for those summer camps, and also to increase staff
Do we have a motion to approve? Thomas Stody, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Thank you. 4G2, this is going to be Fund 101 for capital budget projects for $325,000.
This is the budget amendment for the parking lot project. You approved the bid from Summers Taylor for the parking lot project, and this is just the budget amendment to put the money in the budget. The house has been demolished, that is be paid from this budget amendment, and so within the next month, we expect Summers and Taylors to mobilize on site. So this is just the budget amendment that would take money from fund balance for the construction of the parking lot and demolition of it.
Do we have a motion to
I'll
approve?
make that motion, we do that.
I'll second it.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4G3, Fund 101, Drug Court for $10,000.
This budget amendment is the result of our recovery court receiving an additional $10,000 of grant money from the state. And Penny's going to be using it for testing and other supplies, as well as some training for her team.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion, any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4G4, Sheriff's Department for $13,775.
This is another amendment like we started last month, and starting to do the end of the year budget amendments to make sure that we're not overspent in any line items at the end of June, at the end of our fiscal year. And Ann and her review of the Sheriff's Department lines saw that there were some lines in salaries and longevity pay and medical insurance that needed some additional funds. And so this is an internal transfer within the Sheriff's Department budget.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4G5, Fund 101 for EMA, $861.88.
This budget amendment budgets insurance proceeds that we received from an accident involving one of the EMA vehicles. So it's $861 is what we received in insurance proceeds, and place that in the budget to pay for the repairs.
I'll make a motion.
We've got a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that too.
Eileen Arwine. Ms. Arwine. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4G6, Fund 101 for Parks and Fair Boards, $6,500.
Another budget amendment for cleanup at the end of the fiscal year, needing more funds in the overtime line, repair of equipment and supplies, and moving the money from water and sewer to those various lines.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Reed. If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4G7, Fund 101 for Maintenance Juvenile Sheriff's Department for $30,350.
This is an amendment, we could call this the gasoline budget amendment. And so this is just to put more money from the fund balance into maintenance and juvenile court services in the Sheriff's Department for gasoline.
Do we have a motion?
Fiscal year.
Motion.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Move.
Motion was Mr. Reed, second was James.
Jim.
All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4G8, Fund 116 for garbage and sanitation, $4,200.
These next two amendments are involving fuel as well. The first one for the sanitation department of 4,200, and that'll come from fund balance.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Yes, Mr. Doug. Any discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Number 4G9 is the same. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4G10, Fund 101 for Geographic Information Systems. Mayor Britton?
This is a budget amendment needed to, we're losing our GIS technician. Ashley's going into social work, and so she's leaving us, and so she has some leave time that we're having to pay out, which it wasn't in the budget. So this adds paying out her leave time and all the taxes and retirement that go along. We'll move the money from the reappraisal budget coverage.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Move.
We got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Chris Cutshaw. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman DeBoard. Chairman Cutshaw of the Personnel Committee, you're now recognized.
Call the Personnel Committee meeting to order. Is there anyone that would like to address this committee? You have 5 minutes to do so. Seeing none, we'll move on. There is no old business. We'll move to new business. Item 4A, approval of longevity pay submissions for employee David Wise.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Custodian amendment.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Chairman, that's all I have.
Thank you, Chairman Cutshaw. Chairman Goins of the
Public
Public Service Committee, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll open the Public Service Committee. Anybody wishing to?
I want to talk about, Ms. Lawrence, and Mayor Britton and the campaign commission. Where is the revised and corrected animal?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Mr. Goins and Mayor Britton and commissioners, where is the revised or corrected animal control ordinance to address the serious concerns brought to you months ago by Elizabeth Brotherton? It's not on the agenda.
Yeah.
We didn't have time to finish the document and get it to the condition that we're ready to present to you and have it next month.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing none. Items 4A, surplus items from Cherokee Park. Frank Parker? Oh,
I'll address that, I think. We, thanks to Chad and his folks and the Sheriff's Department, they had confiscated a Bobcat many years ago. And when we had to empty out the impound lot, we got the Bobcat, a repair shop, and try to get it in a condition where we could use it at the park, and we just couldn't get it there for the amount of money that we wanted to spend on it. So we're asking that we surplus the Bobcat and sell it on Gov Deals and put the money in the general fund.
What's the value of that Bobcat roughly?
What would you say, Chad?
I spoke with a mechanic in good conditions, probably roughly $16,000 to $20,000. It's got major hydraulic issues. Water got down in the hydraulic system.
So very little.
Okay, do I have a motion? Just want to say something?
No.
Oh, Tim did? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second? All in favor, make a motion by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Chairman, thank you. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Goins. Chairman Stepp of the Calendar and Rules Committee, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Call to order the Calendar and Rules Committee. Anyone wishing to address the committee may do so at this time. See that we have none. We'll go to item 3A. There's no old business. New business 4A, review of regular calendar items. So do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
A second. Any discussion? All approved, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 4B, review of consent calendar items. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? We have a second. All approved, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Chairman, that's all I have.
Thank you, Chairman Stepp. We're going to take a 5-minute recess, and then we'll reconvene as a budget committee.
I'd like to call the Budget Committee to order. Do we have any visitors that would like to address the committee? Seeing none, in the old business, we have number 3A, General Fund, Fund 101. Mayor Britton.
We'll start tonight with this sheet that you have in front of you. If you'll pull that out and look at that, you asked for us to come back with what would it cost for 15% increase versus a 12% increase for our pro-certified and corrections officers. And what we wanted to do was, and we said we'd come back and show it to you in conjunction with a draft 2. And so that's what we have tonight. If you look at the columns, like the columns with the numbers, the one on the left, well, let me back up. The items that are in red are changes that were made to draft 1 that cost money, okay, that made our deficit go up. That's why they're in red. And the black numbers are savings or reductions in cost. So if you'll see, like, we increased travel in the county commission line by $1,000 primarily because of the orientation session that's at the end of August for the commission, which is held every 4 years following an election. And then the increased pay for commissioners is the next line. And then a change in GIS personnel, small reduction there, reduction of $20,000 in a mid-year change in the reappraisal budget and staffing there. And then you have the trustees' bond amount, a maintenance fee for an arraignment system, an increase there, increase in the coroner's budget. What we did there is we increased the pay for a death investigator from $40 a call to $45 a call to offset the increase in gas prices because they're paid as a contract employee, and they're responsible for their own
gasoline. There was an error, we just had an error in our budget document, that's the 7,500 in the Cherokee Park budget, which was a savings, we had duplicated a line there. Ag Extension, the 8,400 is the way we pay, or the way UT pays, or the way UT charges us basically for the pay of the Ag Extension employees is based on what we pay our people. And so if we give a 5% to the clerical folks, and then that's what that $8,400 is the 5%. Then the $100,000 or actually 103,506 for the detective's position is item number 10. Item number 11 is the $6,800. Jimmy Mullins will stay on the payroll until August the 5th, and so there'll be some overlap in that lieutenant's position, and so that's what that $6,800 is. The change in contributions, that's the nonprofit changes that were made, where we increased safe space, we reduced mats and alps, and so it was a net reduction of $2,000. The $211,400 is for the general fund share of the contribution needed to be made to the health insurance fund. And that's what that $211,400 is. And then the moving the 5 cents of property tax from schools to the general fund is the plus $780,855. And then the next is the cost of the in this column, in the left column, of a 12% increase for law enforcement corrections officers and a 5% for general government employees. And then the difference in the right-hand column is the cost of the pay increase for law enforcement corrections, going to 15% there. The difference between the two, between a 12% and a 15%, is $134,265. That's the difference between those two. But what this sheet does, it shows you what changes you've made in the original budget document and what the impact is. And then it compares a 12% raise for post-certified and corrections officers, a 12% versus a 15%. So I guess, Mr. Chairman, is before we move forward, or we can move forward to other funds, but we need to make a decision on the pay raise, and then we can vote on the general fund budget as a whole and go from there. Do we have a motion for approval of either 12 or 15%?
I make a motion, we give them 15%.
I second.
Got a motion, a second, and a third. And then, any further discussion?
Fourth.
All right. I think that we need to take care of our sheriff's department. And as times get tougher, we'll probably need to have better coverage on that. So all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries.
Okay,
I-
Mr. Chairman.
Item 3B, sanitation.
Yeah, well, we'll go back to the general fund
Okay.
as a whole. And so what you'll see in the presentation is I had slides prepared for either option. So I'm going to skip the 12% option and go to the 15% option. And what we're seeing here with the general fund budget is that we expect to finish this year that we're in with a building almost $1.4 million in fund balance in this fiscal year. And then, so that we'll start the year with a fund balance of about $11.8 million. In the coming budget, we have 2 new employees. We have the drug court caseworker, which is paid for, 2/3 of it paid by a grant from the state of Tennessee. And then the new detectives position, we also have funding for the judicial commissioners for a full year. We had it in the existing budget for a half a year. We have also in there the $80,000 for the volunteer fire departments, $20,000 for each. And then, as I mentioned, the $211,000 for the self-insurance fund, and that keeps us from having to raise premiums. And then there's $389,000 in the budget for capital expenses. So, so what this table shows you is we're in a deficit of about about $1.5 million. We'd finish the year if we spend every penny. If we spend every penny and our revenue projections just reach what we've made, then we'd have a $1.5 million deficit. But just like this budget this year, you passed a budget with a $600,000 deficit, and we're going to end up with a $2 million turnaround because of not spending all the money and because of our projections of revenue are lower than what actual collections are. So, so what the budget before you has these numbers in it with the estimated revenue of $22,549,362, appropriations of $24,066,958, and the fund balance at the end of the year would be about $10.3 million. So that's the budget.
Do we have a motion to
So
approve?
your 1.5 is difference of 1.5?
Correct, yes.
That's because it's 15%?
Well, no, I mean, it was, the original budget that we presented back a month ago was like 1.1 million.
Okay.
And the pay increases had something to do with it. The transfer of this money for the self-insurance fund, that's a significant increase, the $211,000, the $80,000 for volunteer fire department. But that was in there. Never mind, that was in there. The pay raises and the self-insurance fund transfer, those were the two big impacts.
I make a motion, we approve that.
I have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries.
Okay, the next budget is our school budget, and just wanted to reaffirm the maintenance of effort, the local funding that you're making to the school system. The maintenance of effort for the 22-23 fiscal year would be $27,356,092, and then there would be a $673,396 in non-reoccurring appropriation. So that's what's before the committee.
Move that we approve.
Get a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Yeah, we can now.
Why, the school's fund balance at the end of the year is so good, decent. Why are we giving them that 68,000?
The 68.
A non-recurring 68, or whatever it was.
600.
600, yeah, I'm sorry.
600.
Yeah, it's different, a little bit different.
369 or something.
They're going to no doubt have to use part of their fund balance to make up the difference in when they get the bids back on the Lincoln Elementary project, because they've told us they would not be coming back to us. So they're gonna have to come up with the money somewhere, and they'll look at their fund balance first.
That would be one use of it. And then their pay raises, they talked about those bonuses. And then they use their fund balance for their capital projects, kind of like what we do. And so they'll budget part of it for building repairs. And
Is that the highest our fund balance has ever been?
as far as I can remember, Wayne, it sure
Yeah.
is.
I thought so. At the end of the year, what was their fund balance before this budget started? And how much they gained with fund balance?
I asked Tracy that question. I think they're estimating they'll finish this year at 15, and they would finish next year with about 10. They're going to use about $5 million of it.
That's to go towards a new school.
No, I don't think so. Not yet.
They still gotta take out of that for the new school.
Yeah, that's up to the school board.
I mean, they was gonna spend, you know, as Dr. Perry said, we'll take care of it.
Right.
You give us 27,000, we'll take care of the rest. 22.
We committed to
2 million.
22. We committed to 22, and then they were using 5 million of the federal money. And then they've got 5 million more that they were going to use on renovating Lincoln Middle that they could use. So they've got it available too.
So they're in good shape on fund balance.
Pardon?
They're in good shape right now on
Right
fund
now,
balance.
yes.
Yeah.
They just gotta spend some of it and they'll lose some of it.
Now, Tim, look, one of, I guess, considerations on this non-recurring money is they're going to get the money anyway because it's sales tax money,
Yeah.
and so it'd go to their fund balance. So one thought is, why not let them use it? You know, appropriate it. You're not committed, you know, beyond this one appropriation, so they can use it.
The difference would be also that we do not commit that to maintenance of effort. Because next year, the funding mechanism is going to change and hopefully our maintenance of effort will not increase for the next 3 or 4, 5 years even.
We can only hope.
Well, I mean, seriously, with a new
Yeah.
funding mechanism that's supposed to start, we are projected to keep our maintenance of effort on the same level for several years.
Yeah.
All right, any more discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries.
Okay, the next budget is debt service. It hasn't changed since the original presentation a month ago. In this year, we expect with a $13 million fund balance, which is planned to build the fund balance, and then we start making payments on the bonds. We start using that for 3 or 4 years, and then we level off with the funding amount. So we would start with 13 million, revenues would be about 8.2, we would spend about 9.8, and end next year with about 11.4 in fund balance. So we'd use about $1.5 million of fund balance next year. But all the bonds are issued for the 2 major projects, and the financing is in place, the revenue stream's in place, so we're set to go.
Do we have a motion? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries.
Okay, the next budget is the highway fund. Fund 131, there's, in the highway fund budget, you'll see that there's some more money for paving later, but in the highway fund budget, but in Fund 131, there's $880,000 for paving. There's a new 2-ton dump truck and a concrete saw, total of about $200,000 for both. The 2 new employees for the flaggers, about $100,000, and then increases for fuel, propane, diesel, and gas. And then the $2.50 per hour pay raise that you approved last winter is funded for a full year, plus the 5% for all general government employees. So that would, fund balance this year will finish about 1.3, spend about 800,000 in a deficit, and then the fund balance be down to about $550,000 for highway.
Mayor, tell us about that, 550,000 end of next year. Is that, are we still within range?
I mean, it's a concern. I think you've got, you've got some capital costs here that would be one time that you wouldn't have to pay for next year, but that's something that next year we'll need to deal with it.
Hey, you know, you can anticipate all of these departments coming back during the year asking for more gasoline money and diesel fuel, because it escalates, it's gonna eat away their reserves. I move that we approve it.
We got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries.
Next budget is sanitation. We expect to finish this year with about a $3 million fund balance. This budget includes $350,000 to pay for our half of the land for the landfill expansion, one new brush truck, the disposal fees. Now, we have budgeted the solid waste board going from $38 to $48, but their board is recommending, or their budget committee is recommending a $7 increase instead of a $10 increase. So we'll have some leeway there. Diesel fuel and gasoline increased $29,000. No new employees, funding the $2.50 pay raise for the full year plus the 5%. So we're anticipating spending $503,000 more than we take in. Again, that's if we spend every penny in our revenue collection, which includes sales tax in this budget. That's why the sanitation fund balance has done so well over the last couple of years, is because of sales tax. And so we anticipate finishing next year with about 71% of our appropriations, which is excellent for the sanitation fund.
Motion to approve.
We got a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries.
The next is the Drug Control Fund, Fund 122. Monies that go into this are some drug fines, as well as confiscation, sale of confiscated property. We anticipate finishing this year about $28,000 in the red. Next year about 94, but we don't know what revenue we'll have because of we don't know what the confiscations will be. But and that's common with budgeting the drug control fund. So we anticipate finishing next year with $122,000, and there's one used vehicle purchase in the budget, and then your buy money that the narcotics officers use for their investigations it's the largest expense in the budget.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Mayor Britton, on that, do they ever have the opportunity to seize a car and use that instead of purchasing new ones, or how does that work?
Chad, you want to address that? What?
They do, they have to seize the individual's car, it can't be a rental car, you can only seize that person's interest, and in the past, most of the time, the cars that they seize is not worth putting into professional use.
What I've I guess observed and comments made by the narcotics officers too is over the years is the dealers have gotten smarter, is they don't use their primary vehicle that they invest a lot of money in to do deals with. And so, yeah, and they, the cars aren't worth much that are seized.
So if they're rented, we can't take them.
Right.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries.
Thank you, Wayne. I appreciate that. And then the last is Highway Capital Projects Fund. We have $398,000 in that fund for paving. And so that money's available for paving. And we've got it all budgeted.
So that would make 1.2 total for paving. I'll make that motion.
We've got a motion. Do we have a
Second.
second? We've got a second.
Question. What is our paving budget for this next year? How much are we gonna spend total?
You wanna address that? It's 1.2 million is what we've got.
1.2 million. That'll do what, 35 miles? Way we're going, we'll be caught up in about 100 years.
1.2 million at 300,000 a mile.
Yeah.
So you're talking about
3.
4 miles.
It's gone up from 130
We do all the
something.
repairs and preparation, and then buy the asphalt. It's at least 300,000 a mile. If contractor does it, it's 350 a mile. If we do it, it's 250 a mile, so the average is about 300.
You got the personnel and the equipment to do use all that?
We've been keeping the crew on it full time out on Spout Springs. And then we've got a contractor on Stagecoach Road. So we'll move him to White Oak Grove, that's the contractor, and I think our staff will go to McBride Road. So I'm sure those choices aren't as popular to some as they are to people who live out there, but that's where the roads are falling apart.
Chairman, I think we need to look at a wheel tax increase and dedicate it strictly to the roads.
At that rate, the people don't have, the taxpayers out in the whole county, they don't have much relief in sight, do they? If that's all the miles we're gonna be doing every year. I mean, it's not gonna be no great improvement. 'Cause what you don't get this year, it's gonna go down worse next year.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
You're looking at probably the county's greatest asset, and you fund it like it's nothing. And it's not y'all's fault, I'm just saying, at some point in time, we gotta put some priority here.
Yeah, and that's why we need, that's why these people, and I understand, I want good roads too, you know? That's why I'm saying we need to go up in the wheel tax, we need the revenue to get these roads done. If we don't wanna give up the revenue, don't complain about the roads.
And that revenue really needs to be earmarked for the specific purpose of doing roads.
Exactly.
Correct? Exactly.
Can this body, excuse me, Chairman, I was out of turn.
Okay.
Can this body do as Commissioner Goins has suggested and increase wheel tax? Can we write a resolution that commits that money for roads for years to come?
Well, if the wheel tax or whatever revenue, you put it in the highway capital projects fund, then you guys control it. So if Barry comes with a project, says it's gonna cost $400,000, and you guys approve.
Yeah, but what about, can future commissions pull that wheel tax and put it in general fund or another fund? That's what he's talking about.
Yes, sir, that's what I'm talking about. If we were to go down this road, I'd like to see us make some kind of resolution stating that this body requests that money be earmarked solely for roads. And I know we can't really do that. I don't know whether in,
Well, if you made it for a period of time, say from 2022 to 2032,
there you go.
would they have to, would future commissions have to abide by it then? If
CTAS would have to answer that, or someone.
Yeah, we need to get counsel on that.
So let's talk about what does $10 wheel tax do, or what does?
It's 27 now, I need to make a motion, make it 35.
What? Hold on.
But
How much it'll bring in? How much $10?
But that's gonna bring in,
$50,000 a dollar.
$1 per in 50?
So $10 is $500,000.
Hard you remember in 2001, you remember the wheel tax? That was gonna be used for roads. 2.5 years later, general fund took over half of it. So you go back to the people now and say, hey, we're gonna do another wheel tax, they're gonna say, what happened to the last wheel tax? You didn't use all that money for roads.
Barry, give me just a second, Barry. I'm gonna have to try to correct you, Mr. Neesmith. 2001, my father was commissioner, and that was put on to purchase some vehicles at the road department and pay for those, and they went off. And then it was revoted to go back on again, to be placed in another area. Yes, ma'am, it was. Shaking your head and going back there, and like I said, we don't need to hear you if you're not at the lectern. Thank you very much.
My recollection of it was that the wheel tax, most people thought that it would go to roads, but I think 27 went to the county, and 25 went to schools or vice versa.
Yeah.
And I don't remember us getting any vehicles out of it, but
You did.
that's what I remember about it. I don't know if that's.
So the 27
My recollection is 14 went to
But
general
that's not
fund,
ours,
13
that's the state's. 27.
Wasn't that the second time it went in, Mayor? Because
That's
the
ours.
state withheld state shared taxes
It's
and
never
put us
gone to
into a
roads.
position that we had to come up with money?
I think that money, a lot of that money, some of that money is taken out. Howard, you were on there, wasn't it put into school? Didn't you use some of that money in general fund for the schools?
I think that if, the best I can remember, we used schools as the reason why, to convince people to pass the wheel tax. And it probably would never passed if we hadn't used schools as a reason. Because I was in the school system then, and I remember we worked hard.
And that was gonna stop a property tax, and we came back later, what, another year?
Yeah, it
And
wasn't
had a
long.
property tax increase, so people remember that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
what's the total of the $27 bring in amount now?
Mayor Britton, do you know the amount that 27 brings in per year? Million and a half.
So if we implemented that for roads, we'd have to find another way to make that money up.
They had to raise taxes.
To do what Commissioner Goins is speaking of, we're gonna have to raise funds somewhere.
I'm sorry, say it again. I didn't hear you.
But we need to check to see if we can legally earmark that for several years in advance. You think we can?
Well, then we'll check on it.
Because I hate to see us raise wheel tax this year, and then the commission next year decides they need to use it for something else.
I agree.
I'm not saying that they will do that, but we need
Possibility.
it locked in.
I had approached Mr. Poole and asked about gas tax at the pump. You know, what a penny would do. Of course, that didn't go anywhere. The state controls that. I just, you know, what a penny of local gas tax would do for us, but it was to no end in that. And we're just trying to figure out ways to raise more money for the roads.
Well, they were talking, I don't know if they've done it yet, they were talking about suspending the tax. You know if they ever do that?
The registration, the car registration, they suspended it for a year.
Starting July 1.
So they left the tax alone, gas tax alone?
I'm not certain how that we could go about this at this meeting. Is there a way to go about this, or should we wait and hear from?
We can proceed the budget the way it is, and then we'll do the research on the other.
Motion to table it.
Got a motion to table. Are you good with that?
That's fine.
Okay.
I'll second that, actually.
Okay, all right. So, got a motion to table it. We've got,
You're tabling the wheel tax.
tabling the wheel tax until we find out more information. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries.
Do we know about when it come, where you find out the information by?
I'll make the request tomorrow.
Okay.
Mayor, could we add, just to clarify, what, if we can make a resolution that binds that money for a certain number of years, what a dollar brings in, or $10, or however, whatever level it is. Thank you, sir.
And if we could know roughly what that's going to bring in length of roads that we get out of it. That's going to change from year to year, but it'd be nice to know if we could figure out a plan to, there are, 400 miles in this county? 406. It's a lot of work ahead.
Then lastly, commissioners, is just, this is what you'll have, on the 27th, when you vote on the budget, one of the resolutions will be the tax resolution. And so you would vote to set the tax rate right now, where based on your actions, the tax rate would remain the same. And just move the 5 cents from the general purpose schools fund to general fund. So the breakdown would be, as you see here, 67 cents for general fund, both inside and outside. Debt services at 43 cents, schools at 66, and then you have the sanitation rate on property outside the city, because that's who we provide our garbage collection, bulk waste, and recycle collection for properties outside the city of Washington. So this will be the tax rate right now. Any questions?
Motion to approve.
We got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We had several seconds, I think, Bobby Hahn. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, that's all I got.
Thank you. In the announcements on the upcoming budget meetings on June the 27th, we hope to adopt the budget. I guess we will discuss the additional wheel tax and see if we can earmark that.
What time is that?
Randy,
That is at 5 o'clock, I
5
believe.
o'clock.
Is that correct still? Yeah.
There's not a
Yes.
meeting on the 28th either, is there?
we need to leave these notebooks for Trish to get ready
Thank
for our general meeting.
And also, if you leave your budget books, we'll update them with all the changes that we outlined already today.
We're adjourned.